Mommy, I can explain. You know those kind of days where you feel like you've carried the whole of Lagos traffic on your head? That was the kind of day I had. The market was crowded, the sun was wicked, and NEPA had decided to do their usual nonsense. So, I finally sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped my wrapper tightly around my waist, and took one deep breath. Then I heard a knock on the door. 3 soft taps. Then silence. I knew that knock. It was the kind of knock someone gives when they are not sure what they are about to say will land them in soup. "Who is there?" I asked. No answer. I stood up reluctantly and opened the door. It was my son, Emeka, my 16-year-old fine boy no pimples that had started growing a little mustache he was always brushing proudly, like he was the Prince of Zamunda. He looked up at me. "Mommy, I can explain." That line. I leaned against the doorpost. "What happened?" He swallowed. "It's not what it looks like." I didn't even know what it was yet, but my blood pressure had already started climbing. "Emeka, talk. What did you do?" He brought out a paper from his pocket. Crumpled, sweat-stained. His hands shook as he handed it to me. I opened it slowly. It was a suspension letter from school. Apparently, my son, my sweet, respectful, church-going son, had been caught cheating during an exam. I froze. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I didn't want to believe it. I looked up at him. "You? Cheating?" He lowered his eyes. "Mommy, I swear I didn't mean to." I walked back into the room without saying a word. He followed me and stood like a prisoner waiting for judgment. I sat back on the bed. "Sit down," I said. He sat. There was a long silence. I just kept looking at him. "Explain." He nodded. "It was during economics. I didn't study enough. I had too many topics and I panicked, so I wrote small formulas on the back of my calculator. Just small, Mommy. Just to help me remember." He paused. "But when Mr. Ade came near my seat, the calculator fell. He picked it up, saw the notes, and that was it." I said nothing. He blinked rapidly. "Mommy, I didn't copy from anyone. I didn't share answers. I just wrote it down to help myself." I was quiet for a few more seconds. Then I asked, "Is this your first time?" His lips parted, then closed again. That pause told me everything. I stood up. "So this is not your first time?" He shook his head, ashamed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to slap sense into him. But somehow I didn't. Instead, I walked to the window, took a deep breath. The compound was quiet. Generator sounds hummed from a distance. A baby was crying from the flat below. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about trust, and I felt like I had failed. I turned to him. Do you know how many sacrifices I make to pay your school fees? You think it's beans to keep you in that school? He looked down. Do you think I wake up at 4 a.m. to go to mile 12 markets for fun? Or that I trek from bus stop to bus stop because I love exercise? His eyes watered. I'm sorry, Mommy. No, you are not sorry, I snapped. You are sorry you got caught. That was when he burst into tears. It caught me off guard. He wasn't just crying small boy tears. He was sobbing, shoulders shaking, nose running. I've messed up, Mommy. I didn't mean to. I didn't know how to tell you I was struggling. Everybody expects me to be the smart one. I was afraid to fail. I was afraid you'd be disappointed. That one entered like bullets. Because, truth be told, I had put him on a pedestal. You are the firstborn. You have to set the example. You are the one your siblings are looking up to. You are the one I can count on. I said those things almost every week. Now, I realized maybe I had made him feel like failure was not an option. He couldn't come to me unless he had good news. I sat beside him gently. He turned to me, face swollen with guilt. Mommy, I didn't want to lie to you. I just didn't want to make you sad. I placed my hand on his shoulder. Emeka, Ma, you disappointed me. Yes. You made a mistake. Yes. But I'd rather hear the truth from you than find out from the world. He nodded. I'd rather you fail honestly than succeed with shame. He whispered, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I pulled him into a hug and he cried like a baby. I cried too, not because I was weak, but because I remembered what it felt like to be 16 and scared. That night, we sat down together and talked, really talked. Not about cheating, not about suspension, but about fear, pressure, expectations, school, life, faith. And by the time we finished, something had shifted between us. The next day, I followed him to school. I insisted on meeting the principal. We sat in his office. I didn't beg them to remove the punishment. I only told them one thing. He has admitted his mistake, and he's ready to face the consequences. They nodded. He served his 1-week suspension. During that time, I made him volunteer with the local tutoring center, helping younger kids with homework. It wasn't punishment, it was perspective. And by the time he returned to school, something had changed. Not just in him, but in me too. Because that experience reminded me of something we all forget as parents. Our children are not perfect, and they are not supposed to be. They are allowed to stumble, make mistakes, fall flat on their face, as long as they learn to get back up. And us, we must be the arms they can run to, not just the hands that discipline them. Today, Emeka is in university. He laughs whenever I bring up that story. But sometimes, when he's helping his younger siblings with their books, I see a certain look in his eyes, like someone who has walked through the fire and come out refined. and I smile. Because at the end of the day, "Mommy, I can explain," was the sentence that nearly broke my heart, but it was also the one that helped rebuild our bond. Mistakes are not the end. They can be the beginning of growth, trust, and deeper relationships when met with honesty, accountability, and love. More specifically, this story teaches that children need safe spaces to admit their failures without fear of judgment or harsh punishment. Parents should balance discipline with empathy, creating room for open communication. Trust can be rebuilt through truthfulness, even after a breach. Growth often comes through consequences, not just comfort. Love isn't just shown when our children do well, but especially when they don't. It's a powerful reminder that the most meaningful parenting happens in moments of difficulty, not perfection.